tuning into YouTube. I didn't have it going on the auto start, so you are just joining me right now. And the reason I talk about quantum computing, quantum supremacy, etc., is because it's being presented to you and I one way. It's being presented to us as this method in which we are going to unlock the secrets of the universe, and that universe is multifaceted, and we are going to access that multiverse where literally every single possibility happens. It seems bizarre, and it seems demeaning, and it seems anti-human to me, because what it really says to you is you are basically a 0 or a 1, sometimes both at the same time when we're talking quantum computing. If you know what a qubit is, folks, that's the kind of code that they're going on. It's multiple things. There's quantum entanglements. There's spooky objects, right? We're going to get to all that when we get to Google and what their promotion is. But then they talk about basically this multiverse scenario where everything has to happen. So let me pose some questions before we talk about these articles in which there are a multitude of companies that are currently moving in the direction of quote-unquote quantum supremacy. There are different discoveries, and they are also being spun. For instance, physicists discover a strange new phase of matter in an experiment with quantum computers, and they're using a laser based in the Fibonacci sequence, and they've caught these two different lines of data, I guess you would say, and they're postulating whether or not this is a fourth dimension of time being split and being able to be manipulated. Now, I'll say this. No idea if time travel is even possible. It seems that you're on this linear line. Einstein himself said possibly it could be out there. If that were the case, obviously there is a ton of science fiction that would make you believe that it would drastically alter the future. Those people that are into the Mandela effect would love it, right? And many people that are into these sort of postulating conspiracies love to point to the Large Hadron Collider and the particle accelerators beaming into one another and making these quote-unquote new discoveries. I want to say this. No matter what you believe on these things, what's being pushed, not that quantum computing and AI is, say, going to solve the overpopulation problem without getting rid of humans, the resources problems without getting rid of humans. It's all about sustainability. Okay? And it's all about command and control. And what these things are really being used for, as I'm going to go through here, is the next level of cryptography and technology that they not only want to use to track, trace, and database you the way that is being done now, but biomedically track, trace, and database you in real time, while these systems of control are also in command of the automation and the robotization of everything: drone in the sky, truck on the ground, smart city future, down to the smallest home or, yes, pod. And their fear is that people that get a hold of this technology can break the quantum cryptography. JP Morgan just made a big hire to try to make sure that doesn't happen. And after I go through these articles, and before I get to this Google and NASA quantum artificial intelligence piece from almost a decade ago at this point, in fact, it might be a decade ago, I'm going to play you Jonas Salk of the Salk Institute. His father is the one that brought us the polio vaccine. And it's in this middle of his presentation, but the presentation is basically him hearkening what we keep hearing, is that we need to have sustainability. The planet's health is basically more important. And by the way, we're in a period of unprecedented change, and the population is just going to tail off. There's going to be no more population growth. We hear that again and again in the sustainability game. So again, my question is, why aren't we utilizing quantum computing, if we love humanity so much, and artificial intelligence, to make sure that doesn't happen? Because that's not the plan. Okay, because they realize that technology can also empower humans. So physicists discover strange new phase of matters in experiment with quantum computers. And the actual paper's right here. dynamical topological phase realized in a trapped ion quantum simulator. And this is the one here where they're discussing the Fibonacci sequence and 2 time dimensions. But then when you really read the article, which is something that we do here, you realize that, that's a pretty broad interpretation. This fragility, and because they're using, it says ytterbium qubits, and I'll be honest, I have no idea what that type of qubit does. I know that there are massive gains in the amount of information and qubits possible in a lot of these quantum computers, and that's a big deal. And even Russia, for instance, we did a video I think about 6 months ago where they claimed quantum supremacy. So here we go. The fragility limits the amount of time that the qubits can be analyzed without much error. Using rhythmic laser pulses like the Fibonacci sequence can help make the system more stable and less prone to error. The researchers using this sequence found the qubits' analyzable time seemed to double, suggesting a second time dimension. All right, so broad interpretation, but they're always getting into the multiverse and time and these types of things. So when you look at this, for instance, J.P. Morgan hires scientist Charles Lim to help protect financial system from quantum supremacy threat. The banksters don't want to lose. The predator class doesn't want to lose. And when you see who's invested in this, technology giants, including Alphabet, that's Google, that's YouTube, and IBM are racing towards building a reliable quantum computer, and the financial firms, including J.P. Morgan and Visa, are exploring possible uses for it. New horizons are going to become possible, things we didn't think would be possible before. But they talk about bad actors, and bad actors are anybody that would challenge the system, anybody that would empower people, all right? When we're talking about the real bad actors, we're talking about the military-industrial complex. The World Economic Forum is a mouthpiece for this agenda that want to shut off the power, command and control. They have a transhumanist agenda. They want to make you alter your body biologically forever. And on a small level, we could talk about genomically changing human beings through biomedical procedures, or you could talk about hard comm devices. This is transhumanism. Make no mistake about it. All right. And once again, they talk about these bad actors. The bad actors are talking about, guys, are really the people that would help us. All right. That's who they're really protecting against. And just so people understand, there's a lot of hype around this stuff, but then there's a lot of reality around it too. 9,000 years of work in 36 microseconds. And one of these companies is already branding themselves the Multiverse Computing. It's a Spanish quantum software platform. Bosch has partnered with them. They also, as you go down this, and they're into simulations because they want to run all these simulations to see how they can be more productive, right? And get rid of more humans. Lower their costs. That's what the automation is, all right? And the other thing they talk about is singularity software, playing off what's already in the I guess, vernacular about these things. So if you want to check out this paper, because I think there are real scientific discoveries, and let me say this, especially when you're talking about computers or biology, when the technology finally makes it into the public arena that's been used in the backdrop via the military-industrial complex partnership with corporations, the technopoly, the techno-fascism that's gone on behind the scenes for so long, you will have real advancements because there are people out there that are going to make discoveries when utilizing this stuff. If they have the same tools or even similar tools or tools that perhaps were underground 10 or 15 years ago. All right, that is a reality, but many of the things at the top have already been worked out and what they're able to do. So I want to play Salk here before we play Google. And this is him talking again about the sustainability agenda. And I want to say it again. You know, we talk about problems that need solving. They're not concerned about the problem of a bunch of people saying we need to get rid of people or that carbon is the dangerous enemy, because carbon is life. And by the way, we're not the only ones that use carbon. And we've already seen their tricks. It's not just carbon. It's methane. They'll add anything they want. All the invisible things they want. Because, again, it's about command and control. So listen to Salk. We're going to listen to him for about a minute. This is where he's telling you that we are currently, I think this is a 2018 or 19 speech for Google. We're currently at the point of inflection where everything's going to change, where the population is going to really fall off. And in different words that he acts are more positive when he's talking about an equilibrium between human beings and the earth, we're going to be in the new dark ages and have all this technology.
But over time, I would like to see, and I think our survival depends on, making the issues of planetary well-being.
Planetary well-being, health for peace and peace for health.
And human well-being and the well-being of other species to be the drivers that directs us. What problems are we going to look at? What problems are we going to solve? Just to return, just to mention again where we are. This is such a time of change. We're just past the point of inflection. A lot is under our control, and a lot we can still do.
You see, here's where you see the population on the bottom and the steady growth, and then you see all of a sudden that, and then, ooh, what happens? Oh, it starts to go into decline.
I'm going to take one last diversion here and just say one other aspect of this model that I personally find very interesting. We've been looking at this section, the sigmoid curve section. If you extend it out into the past and into the future, the conditions of our evolution and the way that the human organism and human society evolved was under conditions of relative equilibrium in terms of population, but also in terms of the relationship with the environment. So people had ways of coping and economies that...
Ways of coping and economies that had the equilibrium of the planet.
Are much more like what we're talking about today, but in entirely different conditions. What we're looking at in the future is another time of relative equilibrium, where we're living in a relatively closed system, where things are not shifting, and we have to have a dynamic integration and a dynamic interaction with that system.
And that is the false multiverse, all right? And that's why they're pushing the metaverse and what? These virtual influencers. It's not a real person. You're going to want to be a part of that digital system. And when you're a part of that digital system and it becomes more and more real, I want to point out that it's going to be a lot easier to sell you on this multiverse lie, or this lie that you can be anything you want, that you are zeros and ones, that the simulation theory is really true. There is no God. Well, here's the Google, NASA, quantum artificial intelligence piece from, like I said, close to a decade ago when they were talking about quantum annealing. They were talking about D-Wave, and the technology has progressed at an insurmountable level, an almost unimaginable level since this. But again, they're selling you on what? The multiverse. And it is indeed madness.
Who was it that said, if you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics?
Consciousness, intelligence,
Free will, determinism,
black holes, protecting the planet from asteroids,
Heisenberg uncertainty principle,
atoms, ion traps, nuclear magnetic resonance, superconductors, photons,
artificial intelligence, machine learning,
past and future, classical physics, time travel. I mean, the whole thing. I can tell it's going to get very hot as I start speaking, so tell me if I start to look really shiny. Quantum physics puts everything into question.
It defies every intuition you have about the natural world. Quantum is a very strange regime of physics.
Things can exist in this state of superposition where they could be like ghosting on each other, where they could be this and that at the same time.
entanglement. Quantum entanglement.
Two objects, if they're quantum mechanically entangled, are still strongly related to each other, even though they can be a vast distance apart.
There's the notion of the multiverse. There's a whole family of hardwoods in different states and going through different experiences and different life trajectories.
So you're a lobster somewhere in the multiverse. You see how absurd this is? And who were the people that were financing this, by the way? Goldman Sachs. Well, yeah, I trust Goldman Sachs. Oh, and Bezos. Oh, I trust Jeff Bezos. So, once again, Google is a Trojan horse civilian system. They declared their quantum supremacy, and who knows if they're still on top, but you saw the alphabet still working on it. Notice they didn't talk about the NASA partnership. They declared that with NASA. It's a big deal. It's something nobody ever discusses. Yet you would think if you declared that you were supreme in a technology that literally could change the world, it would be a big deal. But no, it's the multiverse. And look, I'm not against unlocking the secrets of the universe, but you notice they're also telling you this is everything.
Famous one is quantum tunneling.
Tunneling
is the slippage between universes.
For a long time, people thought those effects only existed in the microscopic domain.
Like atoms, electrons, photons.
But really, it's the theory of our universe.
So if you want to build a quantum computer, you want to incorporate those new phenomenon into information processing.
Maybe quantum computation is one of those instruments that's going to allow us to see quantum effects at the human scale.
Google and NASA have teamed up to share one of the world's first commercial quantum computers. This machine, made by Canada's D-Wave, will be installed in a NASA research center in California.
Good old NASA. And look into D-Wave. I think Geordie Rose is featured in this piece. Geordie Rose is the one that really talked about the multiverse and it being accessed and it is real. And he talked about, he's one of those transhumanists that believes he's going to be able to upload his consciousness and live forever. All right, and the guy's a smart guy, an accomplished wrestler, competitive dude. He's not really one of the scientists. He's on the business aspect of this. But he also warns that AI and that technology will eventually, create aliens. Weird. It's just, when we talk about aliens, we talk about the evolution of humans. We're talking about artificial beings that are biologically created. And I don't necessarily know how far we've gotten, but I think, again, going back, that we have biomedically experimented on as many species as possible incorporated into human beings. Chimera, look it up.
This is the inside of one of our dilution refrigerators. All of this infrastructure is to basically operate the chip at a temperature that's 2 orders of magnitude colder than interstellar space.
Think about that. 200 times a magnitude colder than interstellar space. And it's been discussed that this type of work should be done in space. Just bizarre, huh? NASA, weird.
The processor is a quantum computer.
It uses things called qubits, as well as being either 1 or a 0. A qubit can also be both at the same time, therefore bringing about a quantum leap in terms of power.
And theoretically, this type of technology should be able to beat any brute force attack on current cryptography, and only quantum cryptography supposedly should protect.
Harnessing principles of reality that are, up until very recently, completely not observable by us is just fascinating in ways that I can't completely articulate.
The overwhelmingly obvious killer app for quantum computation is optimization.
And that is Geordie Rose. Now, again, if it's optimization, then why aren't we using it to empower humanity? Why are we talking about sustainability? Why aren't we figuring out a way to share our resources more efficiently? Because the optimization is for the predator class and their minions as they bring many of us into a new, again, dark age of serfdom via their metaverse, multiverse, AI madness, their blockchain slavery.
Optimization problems are extremely difficult problems.
Actually, all Google server centers together will not be capable of coming up with the best solution to these optimization problems as they get larger. So now, what is an optimization problem? Here, I'll give you an example. You want to do a trip through South America and you want to visit a number of cities. And then you ask, what is the cheapest ticket I can get to visit, let's say, 20 cities? And you can, of course, different routes and different airlines. And sort of imagine I list all the different options I have for my different routes to travel to these cities.
We currently, as a civilization, we generate vast amounts of data. It could be climate data,
Climate data. We've done so well with that, by the way. Oh, and now we're going to talk about some genomic data.
genomic data, but it's very difficult to generate useful insights oftentimes from that data.
If you can solve optimization problems better, you have an important resource at your hand.
I think at least it teaches us that we shouldn't be naive about our world, that we shouldn't think about our world as a simple machine. It forces us to consider, more sophisticated notions of how the reality around us is actually shaped.
I can't ask it how long I'll live or the meaning of life. Really, we don't know what the best questions are to ask that computer. That's exactly what we're trying to understand now.
To me, the most important question is, are we alone? And I have a feeling that quantum computers, as they mature, are going to help us answer that question.
This is, of course, a more long-term research endeavor, and there are still tremendous obstacles and big questions. Some of those will be addressed in D-Wave, some will be addressed at NASA, and some at Google.
Google and NASA have that partnership. And, again, D-Wave is just one aspect, and we've gone well beyond D-Wave.
I wasn't sure I would be able to experiment with a quantum computational device in my lifetime, and now I'm confident that I will be able to.
How amazing it is that we, with our monkey heritage and monkey brains and
monkey heritage and monkey brains, they're selling you on this idea that you're less than human. You wonder why I don't like this stuff. That's why I don't like it.
Monkey fingers have somehow lucked into a brain that allows us to ask legitimate questions about the nature of physical reality. That's so cool.
It's that human risk to go forth into that unknown frontier. Whether it's space exploration or quantum exploration, we do it because we must.
We do it because we must. And again, I'm all for technology that empowers us. But more and more I see us slipping into digital slavery. I caught one of the questions in the comments there. Somebody just asked who the reporter was that said that, Biden was basically bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when I put him on the spot on whether or not Biden ran the country and he played stupid. His name was Kevin Roose of the New York Times. And I also did a podcast with him called The Daily, where you can learn about, 9/11, although it's spun, and that's why we put him on the spot. I'd encourage you to watch both or listen to both. With that being said, guys, I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. You want to support the broadcast, the best way to do it right now is to buy me a coffee. The links are down below. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Love for you to check out the documentary films and spread those. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, which has Joe Biden in it when he's gangster style, covering up the Pakistani ISI portion of the program, okay, and their role in 9/11. And I'm going to be doing a full video. I did the laundry watch along yesterday talking about Ayman al-Zawahiri. I'm going to be going through how many times they've killed Ayman al-Zawahiri, including the recent time they killed Ayman al-Zawahiri. But they killed him and al-Zakari If you guys remember him, I think Al Zakari was the one I was trying to think of yesterday, that at one point they killed him in like this motorcycle chase. Just wild stuff. And show you how these things repeat. Also check out, again, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. We on Rockfin. $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. We do appreciate the tips and the subscriptions. You subscribe to me, even though all my stuff is already free, and you can just go over there, follow me, get all my stuff for free. You want to support it, you get everybody else's premium content as well. It's quite the deal. And we're here by the skin of our nuts, okay? Who knows how much longer we're going to be on YouTube. I hit the road tonight. I'm still going to try to kick out 3 videos a day. That is the goal. I love you guys. It's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. And thank you so much for joining me.